Hey guys, Mandy here, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing something kind of new. If you guys didn't know, I am doing a collaborative series with Atmosphere and Lily Gumdrop. We are doing a How to Roleplay series. So basically, just to give you the short and sweet of what we're doing, it's basically a complete in-depth series on how to create a Minecraft roleplay, because both me and Haley, we get questions all the time about how you do this, and we're finally gonna answer some questions. We're gonna be revealing some secrets on how we personally record, how we personally do things, and yeah. But this first episode is gonna be about story and script writing, basically. So the first thing that I do want to say is that originality is key. You have to be original with your story, or else most people either go with a high school roleplay or with a medieval roleplay, which, you know, it's fine, but just make sure there's originality within your story and that it's interesting. The community, unfortunately, is known for calling people out who quote-unquote copy others, even if they aren't really copying them. So people know if you copy someone else. So just make it original. The best way to do this, honestly, is to just stop watching anybody else's Minecraft roleplays. Now, if you have friends that you want to watch, that's perfectly fine, but avoid watching any Minecraft roleplays while creating and developing your story. Now, for this next part, I'm going to jump into a Google Doc. Now, when you're going about creating your story for the very first time and you have a simple idea of what you want to do, I suggest starting with something very vague. So, for example, a high school girl is bullied and overcomes her bullies or her situation. From here, you can expand upon your story, you can create an outline, and then you can start to storyboard, which is just an outline for each episode, and finally, the script. Me personally, I like to skip a storyboard, and I just like to write out a little summary of what I want the whole season to be, not per episode. That's just me though, because I know what I'm doing when I write a script. But for you, I would suggest doing a storyboard for each episode. And if you are doing say first person or an improv, you can stop at a storyboard, and then that would just be your series. But for fully cinematic, you want to go with storyboard your episode, write out a full script. So this is just an example of what a more thought out idea is. Rowan is a teenage girl who was bullied all her life. She recently came to a new school to escape her torment. Can she finally escape and be herself? So this would be known as something called a plot, obviously. And a plot is very, very important because it'll just be your main it'll just be the main idea or thing that you're gonna go off of while writing your whole script. While writing your whole script and your whole outline, you need to stick to this plot, and you need to be okay, this is the theme. What else am I gonna write about? So when you are making your story, make sure you have something in your story that you and others can relate to. So writers always say, write what you know, whether it be from experiences or whether it be from research that you do. So usually something that people can relate to is a tragedy in their life. Now, I know that this is going to be a very quote-unquote taboo topic to cover, but what people usually cover in the Minecraft roleplay community, because they go through it themselves, and what a lot of people can relate to is depression and anxiety. Those are two things that everybody goes through every now and then, and that is something that can be 100% relatable. Now, you don't have to exactly write about these topics if you are not comfortable writing about these topics. This is just an example. Now, some more less taboo topics that you could go off of is, a crap day at school, you couldn't complete your homework, or bullies, and more bullies, because everybody has to deal with bullies in school, whether you like it or not. Everybody has, unfortunately, been bullied, and people can really relate to that. And you telling your story about how you got bullied will also add some originality into it, because there could also be people who have gone through the same type of story that you have gone through. So now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about episode length. When you write out your storyboards or your scripts, you have to figure out how long you want an episode to be. Is it going to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes? Within my own personal opinion, I believe that around 15 minutes is a decent episode length, but it won't be the end of the world if it turns out to be less than that. But if your script or your episode in editing, it turns out to be 5 minutes long, then you might have a problem. And I'm gonna go a little bit in depth into what I feel would be a good range of scenes or something else. So I'm going to switch over to another doc and show you guys what I mean. So I'm on my document for Rowan's Story. You guys are looking at the script right now. Rowan's Story was a series that I released a while ago and that I plan to revamp and redo later in 2019. But for now, we're just using this as an example for you guys what to see. So basically, I would recommend around 6 scenes per episode if it's a cinematic series. Because 6 scenes should get you to around 15 minutes, but it also depends on how long those scenes are. Each scene in a normal script that I personally write, around 3 to 5 pages is good, and it's a decent amount, and it's kind of long. 5 pages is a bit pushing it, but this doesn't mean that you need to make your scenes that long. It's all up to personal preference. I personally like longer scenes because then I can fit more into a scene, and that way you guys can see more of character personality and more of the storyline. So basically, you can see that scene 1 is pretty short, and that's basically because this is an epilogue or a prologue. This is something that the character says while there are cinematics going on the screen, blah, blah, blah. This is basically narration for the episode. Now you can see in scene 2 stretches along the lengths of 1 to 2 pages. And then in scene 3, you can see that it's getting a little longer and is stretching over around 3 pages. So do you see what I mean? Each scene is not always going to be a certain amount of pages. If you can hit that certain amount of pages that you want for each scene, that's great. But sometimes the scenes turn out to be smaller or longer. It just depends on what you want personally. So now we are going to talk about research. Researching your topics is one of the things that you need to do if you're going to talk about a specific topic. If you want to stay consistent within your story and have it be well thought out, I would suggest researching certain topics within like your series. For example, if you're going to do a medical role play, make sure that you research like procedures that surgeons perform. What exactly do the nurses do? How do you pronounce certain diseases? What are common symptoms of said diseases or illnesses, etc. Do you know what I mean? So basically, what I mean by that is you would basically research things like, so for example, if you wanted to make a medical type of roleplay and you wanted your main character to be a cardiothoracic surgeon, one of the main things that you would have to know is what cardiomyopathy is. And basically, cardiomyopathy is a disease of the heart muscle that makes it harder for your heart to pump blood to the rest of your body. Cardiomyopathy can lead to heart failure. The main types of cardiomyopathy include dilated, hypertrophic, and restrictive cardiomyopathy. Treatment, which might include medications or in severe cases, a heart transplant. Depends on which type of cardiomyopathy you have and how serious it is. For symptoms, there might be no signs or symptoms in early stages of cardiomyopathy, but as the condition advances, signs and symptoms usually appear, including breathlessness with exertion or even at rest, swelling of the legs, ankles, and feet, bloating of the abdomen due to fluid buildup, cough while lying down, fatigue, heartbeats that feel rapid pounding or fluttering, chest discomfort and pressure, dizziness, lightheadedness, and fainting. Signs and symptoms tend to get worse unless treated. In some people, the condition worsens quickly. In others, it might not worsen for a long time. So basically, if you wanted your main character to be a cardiothoracic surgeon, cardiomyopathy is something that is actually pretty common and seen a lot within the cardiothoracic profession. And how I got all of this is I went to the Mayo Clinic website and I searched up cardiomyopathy, and I got all my information from here. And Mayo Clinic is an actual hospital, and it is a well-trusted website for information. Just more examples of how you can research things. Basically, if you wanted to do a FNAF roleplay, you have to ask certain questions to yourself, and then you have to research based on those certain questions. So basically, how did the Purple Man come to be? Are the animatronics just robots, or are they people's souls trapped inside suits? How can you make a living animatronic? Is Circus Baby Afton's daughter or just some random girl? All of these can be answered with research. Now I'm going to move on to titling your roleplay. So titling your roleplay with something catchy can really draw people in. So for example, for Rowan's Story, I had so many other ideas of what I wanted the roleplay to be named. So basically, when I was thinking of titles for Rowan's Story, I had 3 to pick from. I had Rowan's Story, Rowan's World, or Rowan's Diaries. Originally, I went with Rowan's Diaries, but that got me into a little bit of trouble. So basically, you just want something catchy, and the reason why we originally went with Rowan's Diaries is because the word diaries in the roleplay community is something that is well known, it is something that is eye-catching, and it is something that people will click on because it's just like, oh, well, this is like this, so like maybe this will be like, you know what I mean? Just stuff like that. Make sure it's something memorable, like Rowan's Diaries. That is a memorable title, and so is Rowan's Story, but originally I went with Rowan's Diaries. So make sure it is something memorable that you won't mind hearing over and over again. You also want to make sure it's relatively short, so don't make it something super duper long that is just a mouthful. Like, One Woman's Debt is pushing it, but in the past I had a series called Forevermore Love, and that was a mouthful, so I shortened it to Forevermore. That series didn't pan out, but it's fine. And also make it relatively short, because if you're making a roleplay for your roleplay, so just because you want to make it fit and you don't want it to take up like the majority of the thumbnail. Make sure your title is something relevant to the story as well. These are all relevant to the story of like what Rowan was going through, because Rowan's story was that she was a bully in the past. She bullied someone to the point of no return. She felt bad about it. She's bettering herself. She's making sure that nobody else ever gets bullied, and she also in the series gets bullied herself. So yeah, that is Rowan's story. That's what the series is about, and each of these titles would have fit within that, you know? Also, do you remember that originality is key? Now, for a title like Rowan's Story or Rowan's Diaries isn't the most original title in the world, because like I said, the word diaries is very well known in the roleplay community. So Rowan's Diaries would have been perfect because it's well known. It's catchy to people like the word diaries and things. I don't know why, they just do. But for Rowan's Story, that's a little bit more original. It is a little bit more to the point. But you also have to remember that there are many other roleplays out there. You're not going to be able to please everybody. If you make a title and it's similar to someone else's, don't worry about it. Like, there's so many other roleplays out there. Like, you're eventually gonna have the same idea or the same title as someone, or maybe not the exact same title, but something along the lines of it. So like, just remember, there are many other roleplays out there. Like, it's not the end of the world if your title is similar to someone else's. It's not the end of the world. Alrighty guys, so that's gonna be the end of today's video. If you liked it, it was informational and it helps you out a lot, make sure to hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel. And the next episode of this series will be going on Atmosphere's channel tomorrow. So make sure to go over, check out her channel, and subscribe to her as well. And everybody's links who is also collabing within this series will be in the description down below. So check that out. And I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!
I'm relying on your love, and can you let me some, so that if I'm left with